Hello, and thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're delving into something pretty interesting, the global women's bottomwear market. It's expanding rapidly.
It really is.
We've been looking at some compelling insights from a report by Cognitive Market Research. It's called Global Women's Bottomwear Market Outlook to 2033.
A very thorough piece of research.
Definitely. So our mission today is basically to unpack the big trends, the surprising numbers, and the forces really shaping this whole sector.
Right.
We want to help you understand not just what's going on, but maybe more importantly, why it matters, what it tells us about, bigger shifts happening globally.
Absolutely. And maybe just to kick things off, it helps to define what we actually mean by women's bottom wear.
Good point.
It's not just one thing. It's incredibly diverse. Think pants, jeans, leggings,
Yeah.
skirts, shorts, even culottes.
All sorts.
Yeah, basically anything designed for female consumers. And it covers all sorts of age groups, lifestyles, different preferences.
Okay, so let's get into it then, because the scale here, it's kind of mind-blowing.
It is.
Cognitive Market Research puts the global market value at $67.129 billion. That was back in 2021.
Which is already a huge number.
Exactly. But listen to this. It's projected to grow to $83.794 billion by 2025. Just around the corner.
Wow.
And then keep climbing to, get this, $130.56 billion by 2033.
I've nearly double the 2021 figure.
Right. And that's expanding at a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 5.7%.
Which, for a market this size, 5.7% is, well, it's massive in absolute terms.
Hmm.
Billions every year.
Billions. That's a lot of leggings,
Yeah.
and jeans, and everything else.
It really is. But what's fascinating, I think, is that this isn't just about, hemlines changing or a new color being in.
Right. It's deeper than that.
Much deeper. There are some significant societal and economic shifts driving this.
Right.
Really fundamental changes.
Okay, like what? What did the research pinpoint?
Well, first off, there's a global rise in women participating in the workforce. That's a huge one.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. More women working.
Means often more disposable income, yes, but also a need for maybe a wider range of clothing, workwear, casual wear, active wear.
Gotcha. So the need and the ability to buy more diverse stuff. What else?
Then you've got, of course, the constantly evolving fashion trends. That always keeps the market moving, encourages new buys.
Sure, the fashion cycle.
Exactly. Plus, an increasing adoption of Western-style clothing in many parts of the world. That's a big cultural shift impacting this market.
Interesting.
And finally, maybe one of the biggest accelerators recently is the huge growth in online retail, e-commerce penetration.
Yeah. Making it easier to buy anything from anywhere.
Precisely. It just makes all these styles so much more accessible globally.
So if you're listening, what does this all mean for you? I mean, it affects basically everything, right? From what you actually see for sale in stores or online
Yeah.
to how you actually shop for these things. It's all influenced by these big global currents.
And you can see brands reacting, can't you?
Totally. How so?
Well, they're pushing fashion innovation, obviously. But there's a huge focus now on comfort. The whole athleisure trend isn't going away. Loungewear.
Comfort is king. Or queen, I guess.
Right? And sustainability. That's massive now. Consumers are demanding it. So brands have to respond with more sustainable manufacturing.
Yeah, that's a big one. And it's not just one global standard, is it? Brands seem to be tuning into local needs, too.
Very much so. They have to. They're adapting to regional demands, specific cultural nuances, even performance needs for things like sportswear. It's not one size fits all.
Okay, this feels like a good point to zoom in a bit. We've got this huge global number, but where is the money actually being spent? Let's talk regions.
Yeah, let's break it down. This is where you see the scale in different parts of the world. Looking at 2021, the top regions were pretty clear.
Who was leading?
Asia Pacific was the largest at $20.944 billion. And it's forecast to more than double, hitting $43.672 billion by 2033.
Wow, leading the pack by quite a margin then.
Definitely. Europe was next. $19.87 billion in 2021, projected to reach $36.687 billion. Also very strong growth.
Okay.
And North America came in at $16.849 billion in 2021, expected to grow to $30.682 billion by 2033.
So significant growth across all three major regions. Let's dig into North America first. The U.S. is the big story there, right?
Oh, absolutely dominates.
Yeah.
The U.S. market was $13.5407 billion in 2021.
$13.5 billion.
Yeah, and that's projected to climb to almost $24 billion, $23.932 billion by 2033.
Huge. What about Canada and Mexico?
Canada is also significant,
Yeah.
expected to jump from $2.6 billion to over $5.6 billion, so more than doubling. Mexico, smaller market, but still growing steadily from around $11.7 billion to $1.1 billion.
What's driving that North American growth, do you think? Is it just size?
Size helps, but the e-commerce infrastructure is so developed there. Online shopping convenience is a massive factor.
Right.
Plus, established consumer spending patterns.
Right. Okay, let's hop over to Europe. Lots of countries there. Where's the action?
Germany, the UK, and France are really the powerhouses. Germany is projected to go from $3.8 billion to nearly $6.9 billion.
Okay.
The UK from just under $3 billion to over $5 billion. In France, similar numbers, $2.9 billion up to $5.5 billion.
So all becoming multi-billion-dollar markets in their own right.
Exactly. Mature economies, but still showing really solid demand.
Yeah.
And then you have Italy, Russia, Spain also showing substantial growth, heading towards that $3 to $4 billion range each by 2033.
Interesting about Russia there, too.
Yes, significant market size. And then there's a whole cluster of other strong European countries, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg,
Yeah.
all forecast to grow into the $1 to $2 billion range or higher.
Quite widespread growth across Europe, then.
Very much so.
Now, Asia-Pacific, you said it was the biggest region overall. China must be a huge part of that.
Enormous. China's market is projected to go from $7.3 billion in 2021 to nearly $14.6 billion by 2033. Just massive scale.
Unsurprising, maybe. But what about other key players there? India often gets mentioned for growth.
Absolutely. The report specifically highlights India for its rapid growth. It's set to jump from about $3.3 billion to over $8.1 billion.
Wow, more than doubling.
Yeah, reflecting that huge young population, rising incomes, and embracing new styles. It's a really dynamic market to watch.
Definitely. And Japan, South Korea, Australia.
All very significant established markets, too. Japan's looking at growth from $3.6 billion to nearly $7 billion. South Korea from $2 billion to $4 billion. Australia from $1.5 billion up to $3.4 billion. So multi-billion-dollar markets across the board there.
It really puts the scale into perspective. What about places like Singapore or Southeast Asia?
Also growing fast. Singapore heading towards $2 billion. Southeast Asia collectively towards $2.6 billion. Taiwan looking strong, too, moving towards $1.4 billion. It shows this isn't just about China and India. There's broad growth across the region.
So if you compare, say, India's rapid growth rate with Japan's larger current size, what does that tell us?
Well, it really highlights the difference between established mature markets and rapidly emerging ones. It's not just about population. It's about the pace of economic change, how quickly consumers are adopting new trends and gaining purchasing power.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, where next?
South America.
South America, Brazil is the standout, projected to grow from $1.86 billion to over $3.7 billion by 2033.
Another market more than doubling.
Yes. And Argentina and Colombia are showing strong potential, too, both heading towards the $1.8 to $1.3 billion mark, respectively. So growing fashion awareness there, too.
Okay, Middle East.
In the Middle East, Saudi Arabia leads, forecast to reach $1.66 billion. Turkey and the UAE are also significant, both expected to cross that billion-dollar threshold.
Reflecting, I guess, economic development and maybe changing fashion norms.
Exactly. More diversity in styles becoming available and accepted. Egypt and Qatar also show solid growth projected.
And finally, Africa. Nigeria and South Africa are the key markets highlighted. Nigeria projected to grow from $1.1 billion to about $2.2 billion. South Africa from just under $1 billion to over $2 billion.
So significant growth potential there as well, even if starting from a slightly smaller base than some other regions.
Definitely. It indicates developing economies, shifting consumer tastes. It's happening across the continent.
So pulling it all together, these regional numbers, they paint a really vivid picture, don't they?
They absolutely do. I think if you connect it back to the bigger picture, you see just how interconnected global fashion is with, well, everything. Local economies, cultural changes, purchasing power. It varies so much continent by continent, even country by country.
Yeah, it's not just clothes, is it? It's like a mirror reflecting economic development, societal shifts.
Precisely. And brands have to be incredibly tuned in to those local nuances to succeed.
Okay, so that was quite the journey. We went from, understanding the sheer size and impressive growth of the global women's bottomwear market.
Right, that $130 billion projection.
Yeah. To looking at the forces driving it, like more women working, online shopping taking off, and then we really drilled down into the regions, Asia Pacific leading, but strong growth everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And it's clear, like you said, this isn't just about fashion trends. It reflects much broader socioeconomic patterns playing out worldwide.
Absolutely. I think the key takeaway really is just how dynamic this sector is. It's growing, it's driven by these powerful global forces, but it's also incredibly responsive to local tastes and conditions. Which, well, it does raise an important question.
Go on.
Well, we've talked about the trends driving things now.
Yeah, comfort, sustainability, regional focus.
Exactly. So, thinking ahead.
What's next? That's the big question, isn't it? Given everything we've seen, this huge shift towards comfort, the demand for sustainability, all those specific regional needs, what do you think? What could be the next big innovation in women's bottom wear? Something that really shakes up the market, maybe even pushing it beyond what this report sees for 2033. Something to think about.
Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're tackling a market that honestly is way more dynamic than you might first think. Women's bottom wear.
Absolutely. It moves so fast.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. Pull out the most important, the most compelling insights from the sources we've looked at.
Yep, get you right up to speed on what's happening.
And what's really interesting, I think, is how this category, bottom wear, it's not just a basic anymore.
Not at all. It's right at this crossroads, isn't it? Technology, identity, sustainability.
Exactly. All these market forces are playing into it. So we're going to dig into the key drivers, definitely some of the challenges, and of course, look at future trends.
Sounds like a plan. Where should we start?
Okay, let's kick off with the first big driver. This hybridization of work and leisure wear. People are calling it work leisure.
Yes, the death of stiff work pants.
Pretty much. It's a real shift,
Yeah.
moving away from those traditional uncomfortable slacks towards something that blends comfort and professionalism.
Pieces you can actually wear all day.
Right. Things that work for a Zoom call in the morning but are still fine for, say, brunch on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And that means a huge demand for these technical fabrics, things with stretch, maybe odor control, even fabrics that help regulate temperature.
Performance features, basically.
Exactly. And get this, tailored bottom wear, so still looking sharp, but with these performance features, it's growing at something like 23% annually.
Wow, that's significant growth.
It is. And it means these pieces command higher prices, often 35, even 50% more than the standard stuff.
So what does that really mean for you, the listener?
Well, it means trousers that actually breathe, that resist wrinkles, and frankly, just feel good to wear.
Think about how maybe your own wardrobe has shifted, towards that kind of comfort-driven versatility.
It's fewer, better things, really. Pieces that work harder for you across different parts of your day. It reflects a bigger lifestyle shift, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Efficiency, comfort.
Mm.
They're valued more now than maybe rigid formality used to be. That ties in perfectly, actually, with our second driver, the inclusive sizing revolution.
A really important one.
Hugely important, and honestly, a long time coming. Just look at the U.S. market, the extended size segment, so that's typically size 18 and up. It's growing 3 times faster than standard sizes.
3 times. That really shows the unmet demand that was there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And our sources are saying something like 82% of major retailers now offer size-inclusive lines.
Which is progress.
Definitely. And it's not just about, making existing sizes bigger. We're seeing real innovation in adaptive features.
Like magnetic closures.
Exactly. Or adjustable waists. Things that really open up fashion for older consumers or people with disabilities. It makes it genuinely more accessible.
And, while it's obviously good practice and the right thing to do, it's also just smart business.
For sure.
But the deeper insight, I think, is how the industry is finally starting to rethink who it's designing for, moving away from this sort of one ideal body idea towards actually acknowledging and celebrating, the huge diversity of bodies out there. And that pushes designers to innovate in ways that are much more fundamental than just scaling a pattern up or down.
Yeah, designing for everybody.
Exactly. True design for all.
Okay, driver number 3 takes us to maybe the most iconic bottom wear category, denim. We're calling this the sustainable denim reformation.
Denim's getting an eco makeover.
It really is. It's a global staple, right? But now big brands are seriously investing in things like waterless dyeing,
Which saves huge amounts of water.
regenerative cotton, which is fascinating, focusing on soil health, biodiversity, and these closed-loop recycling systems.
Trying to make it circular.
Yeah, and some companies are doing pretty well. We saw figures like 92% recovery of pre-consumer denim waste by some brands.
That's impressive for waste generated before it even gets to the consumer.
It is. And then you have the take-back programs, which are key for the post-consumer side, turning old jeans into new fibers. It's about creating fashion with, well, with purpose.
And the bigger picture here, connecting it all up, is that these aren't just small tweaks. It's about rethinking the entire life of a garment.
From the very beginning to the very end.
Right. Feel to fiber and hopefully back again. It forces innovation in materials, in manufacturing, things that are really critical if fashion wants to move beyond just being less bad.
Towards being genuinely restorative, maybe.
Maybe that's the goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially for such a widely worn category like denim.
Okay, so we've talked drivers, but even with all this promise, there are definitely challenges. Big ones.
Always hurdles to overcome.
Let's start with fit technology limitations. Brands have poured money into things like 3D body scanning, virtual try-on tools.
All this fancy tech.
Right. Okay. But despite all that investment, fit-related online returns are still hovering around 38%.
Still incredibly high.
It is, and that adds up. We're talking about $7 billion in annual losses just from that.
Yeah.
And it's not just the tech's fault, perhaps. There are huge global differences in body shapes and proportions. Think about massive markets like Asia. Standardized sizing models just don't work well everywhere. They're becoming kind of obsolete.
Which raises that big question, doesn't it? If we have all this tech, why are returns still so high?
Yeah, why isn't it solved?
It just highlights how incredibly complex it is to truly understand and design for body diversity on a global scale. It's more than just measurements on a chart.
It's shape, drape, movement.
Exactly. How clothes actually interact with real, moving human bodies.
Okay, another major challenge, the fast fashion price war.
Ah, the race to the bottom.
Pretty much. You've got these ultra-low-cost online platforms selling bottomwear for like under $10.
$10.
Insane, right?
Yeah.
And that puts enormous pressure on all the mid-tier brands. They're stuck.
They have to choose, right? Either slash prices.
And there's their quality, their margins, everything.
Or try and reposition themselves as more premium upscale.
Exactly. And the result, we're seeing what some call a middle market collapse. It's apparently impacting around 45% of traditional retailers now.
That's almost half. It really creates this sort of survival of the most adaptable situation.
How so?
Well, brands have to make a strategic choice. Either figure out how to be incredibly efficient, probably using a lot of digital tools,
Right.
or they have to double down on what makes them unique. Maybe craftsmanship, maybe true sustainability, maybe personalization. That middle ground, just being okay at everything, it's getting harder and harder to survive there.
That makes sense.
But
Okay, one last challenge. Textile recycling bottlenecks.
this ties back to the sustainability point.
It does. So it's good that, 65% of brands say they're using recycled materials? That's positive momentum.
But there's a catch.
There's a big catch. Blended fabrics. Certainly anything with elastane, stretch.
Which is in so much bottomwear now for comfort.
Exactly. And those blends are incredibly difficult to recycle efficiently with current technology.
They're hard to separate back into usable fibers.
Right. So the sobering statistic is that only about 12% of post-consumer bottomwear. So clothes people have actually worn and discarded can currently be processed back into new garments.
Only 12%.
Yeah.
So connecting this to the bigger picture, it means that until the recycling infrastructure really catches up with how fabrics are actually made today,
With all these complex blends.
circular fashion, certainly in this segment, is still more of an aspiration than a widespread reality. We're seeing innovation in making the materials but dealing with them at the end of their life. That's lagging behind.
Okay, so that's a lot to consider, the drivers, the challenges. Where does this leave us? Where are things headed next in women's bottomwear? Let's look at some key future trends.
What's on the horizon?
First up, performance-enhanced everyday wear. This takes that work-leisure idea even further.
Beyond just stretch and breathability.
Way beyond. Think trousers made with phase-change materials.
Okay, what are those?
Basically, tiny capsules woven into the fabric that absorb or release heat to help regulate your body temperature. So they adapt to keep you comfortable, whether it's hot or cold.
Wow, like smart clothing.
Kind of. Or think anti-cellulite leggings that use, micromassage technology embedded in the fabric.
Okay, now that's pushing boundaries.
It really is fashion with a very tangible function. And this whole segment is projected to hit something like $28 billion by 2027.
28 billion. That's huge. It's really about clothing doing more for us, isn't it? Moving beyond just looking good or feeling okay towards actual measurable benefits for well-being or function. Garments become active parts of our lives.
Yeah, not just passive fabric. Okay, next trend. The digital-first design cycle.
Speeding things up.
Massively. We're seeing AI tools that can cut design-to-market timelines from, say, 6 months
Which used to be standard.
down to just 3 weeks.
3 weeks. That's an incredible acceleration.
It is, and you combine that with things like virtual try-ons. Apparently, 43% of Gen Z shoppers are using those now.
That's a big chunk of the upcoming market.
So you put that speed and that virtual interaction together, and you can see a real retail revolution happening.
It does raise an interesting question, though. What does that super fast cycle mean for creativity?
Good point. Does it just mean chasing micro trends?
Potentially. On one hand, yes, incredible responsiveness to what consumers want right now. On the other, maybe less time for really deep, enduring design development. But for the consumer, the promise is definitely more personalized options, maybe fewer returns if the virtual try-on gets better.
Yeah, better fit prediction.
Right. It could be a win-win eventually.
Okay, and one final trend. This one feels a bit more emotional, maybe aesthetic. Cultural nostalgia reinvention.
Ah, the past coming back.
Totally. We're seeing it everywhere, right?
Yeah,
Y2K styles like low-rise jeans are making a huge comeback.
definitely seeing those again.
And also those comfy 90s style wide leg pants. But the key thing is, they're not just exact replicas. They're being reimagined for modern comfort, modern fit.
Using today's fabrics and understanding of fit.
Exactly. And this retro-inspired stuff, it's driving significant growth, about 18%. And get this, limited edition archival denim, like re-releases of classic old styles, apparently makes up 15% of premium denim sales now.
That's fascinating. It shows how much this trend taps into something deeper, like collective memory or identity.
Yeah, it's not just clothes.
No, it lets people connect with a feeling from the past, but blend it with their modern life, modern needs, especially comfort. It's not just copying, it's reinterpreting, a fusion of the familiar and the new.
So summing up then, whether we're talking about eco-conscious jeans that tell a story, or techie trousers that adapt to you, or fits that finally include and celebrate all bodies, it's clear the women's bottom-wear market is evolving incredibly fast.
Unprecedented pace, really.
And the brands that seem to be leading the way are the ones managing to blend that real innovation with, I guess, an authentic understanding of what people actually want and need.
And it's worth remembering that this competitive landscape is really complex. You've got disruptions in supply chains, consumer behavior shifting constantly, rising costs.
Yeah, it's not easy.
No. So even the big established legacy brands are having to double down on innovation just to keep up. It's this constant balancing act. Adapt, innovate, but somehow stay true to who you are as a brand.
So maybe a final thought to leave our listeners with. Given how personal bottom wear is, it has to fit right, feel right, function right, and how much it's changing, how do you think these trends we've discussed will keep shaping not just our comfort, but maybe our identity and even, our connection to the planet in the years ahead?
That's a great question to ponder. How will our pants shape our future?